Good morning, good evening, and welcome to Savage Universe. I know what time it is. It's because
It's
I'm having
morning somewhere.
coffee. It's mornings. It's 5 o'clock a.m. somewhere. Welcome to Savage Universe. Where we talk about all things out in the Savage Universe and Savage Worlds licensee universe, I guess is the word I'm looking for. And tonight I have Travis and Kyle, who both have Kickstarters going on right now. I'm going to let them introduce themselves and their Kickstarter. Kyle, why don't we start with you?
Sure, no pressure.
No pressure.
Hi, I am Kyle Carty from BPB Games. Our current Savage Worlds Kickstarter is for Savage Hunter. It is a monster hunting, creature crafting supplement that focuses on unique crafting rules and very large monsters that you can sort of work to take down in a way that works with the death spiral mechanics of Savage Worlds.
I love it. Like, I love the idea that, I was a big fan of games like Shadows of the Colossus and Monster Hunter World, and this is all speaking my language.
That's what I like to hear.
Travis.
Yes.
I feel like you and I have talked about your Kickstarter for probably 3 years now.
Yes. We had the first nugget of a conversation of this was many years ago.
Yeah, Gamehole-Con 3 years ago. So give us the pitch.
We are bringing the much beloved Scarred Lands setting to Savage Worlds. Those of you who are not familiar with Scarred Lands, it's a fantasy world in which there was a recent Titanomachy about 150 years ago. The gods and the titans fought on the surface of the planet and beat the place up pretty badly, hence the name Scarred Lands. So there are, I could talk about Scarred Lands all day long, but it's been published for 25 years. It started out as a third edition setting published by White Wolf.
The best third edition setting.
It was the best third edition
published
setting.
and I say this as somebody who's bringing the world's largest dungeon back. Necromancer Games was the supplement that we used, like Relics and Rituals and all of the creature stuff, and then the Scarred Lands came out, and I'm wearing my Bronze Age Weapons t-shirt for this show. So yeah, this was always my jam.
I'm pretty psyched. I'm stoked about it. It's pretty awesome. And the Scarred Lands setting has the distinction of having beat the monster manual to press for third edition D&D. It was the first Creature Collection 1, the book.
Creature Collection 1 was the first one, yeah.
Was the first book of monsters for Dungeons & Dragons third edition. So,
oh, man.
So it's a long and storied legacy that I am very, very honored to be able to carry into Savage Worlds.
Now, I love doing Savage Universe, and one of the things I love about doing Savage Universe is talking about aces and swag licensees and media people and all of these people who love Savage Worlds. And very often in the Kickstarter process, I'm brought in very early on, either before the Kickstarter launches or the first week that it launches. And I am kind of thrilled to say, both of your Kickstarters have funded. This is very cool. Shane Hensley in the chat, I remember that Gen Con well and the big grin that Steve had on his face at beating WotC to the bestiary.
I can assure you that grin still crawls across Steve's face every time you bring it up.
Well, Kyle, let's start with you. What drew you into Savage Worlds? What do you love about Savage Worlds, and why did you go, hey, I want to actually make something for this game? So
the answer is kind of unique. What drew me into Savage Worlds was that it was on sale for $10 at my local game store during Deluxe Edition.
Yeah.
So Explorer's Edition, excuse me.
Yeah, the $10 Explorer Edition book. Yeah.
So I picked it up, and I was looking to branch out from D&D in college and try different stuff. And Savage Worlds really clicked with me. I really liked Deadlands. I really liked just the flexibility to kind of do whatever you wanted in it, and the pulpy action, the death spiral, all that.
Yeah.
And so after playing that for years and years, we finally, I started to get into actually writing game supplements, and I found that I had the most fun writing for Savage Worlds. So
it is a lot of fun to write for.
It's extremely approachable, extremely easy. It's a very neatly designed game that does not need a lot of work to turn it into anything. It is effortlessly a top 3 system for me. But yeah, so I was like, you know what? Let me take a swing at it. So I asked to be an ace when we were launching Savage Tokusatsu, like our Kamen Rider Sentai kind of setting, our first Kickstarter. And it did really well. And it's just kind of been ever since then. I've enjoyed running and writing for Savage Worlds. It's extremely approachable. So that would be my big thing. It's the approachability. It's my go-to new system when I'm introducing someone to role playing because it's approachable.
Yeah. I run a kids game twice a month for some local homeschoolers, homeschool families. And then I also, at my son's middle school, I started a role-playing club. And for both of them, we're doing Deadlands for the kids game for the homeschoolers, and we did Savage Worlds for the club. And now that club is still going on. From what I understand, there are now 3 GMs. And so every day at lunch, someone is running a Savage Worlds game at the school.
That's awesome.
So Travis, you come from Onyx Path. Like, you are
sort of, yeah.
I mean,
it took me a long way to get there, and then yes.
Yeah.
So.
But I worked. I mean, you did. You've just had a recent Kickstarter earlier this year for Savage Worlds.
Yes, was it this year? Oh man, time is a flat circle. Yeah, so I just put out Odysseys and Overlords 2nd edition. I guess at the beginning of this year, right? Late last year, something like that.
Late last year, I think. Yeah, and then.
Right, because we did the core book a couple years ago, and then you and I worked together on Bizarre Kingdoms, which was the expansion for that, which was the most recent Kickstarter that I had personally run. So I've been working in some capacity in the tabletop business for coming up on probably 25 years. And so I had initially started with the OGL way back in the day. And I've always been interested in playing new systems, trying different things. The friend group that I have in Rockford, Illinois, I just happen to be lucky enough to grow up in a place that has a really, really vibrant RPG scene, or at least did at the time for sure when I was in like high school and whatnot. And so I was introduced to Deadlands real early on. But as a publisher, I've always been looking at like different ways to get involved with systems that are established. And so when the opportunity to become a licensee arose, I applied for it and got it pretty well straight away, which was awesome. I've been working on Aces stuff ever since. And I do a lot of freelancing with Onyx Path. I'm like a long-term contract freelancer for them. I manage their social media. I manage their Twitch channel. So Rich and I were talking a couple of years ago now about the possibility of bringing Scarred Lands over into Savage Worlds. And it was just a matter of hammering out the details of how that would work and finding the right time for it. And I'm pleased to announce we figured it out. Started out earlier this year, putting out the creature profiles, which was kind of like a tease of the monsters. I got to trot out some of kind of my favorites. One of the things that, obviously, with it being born from Creature Collection, Scarlands has awesome monsters. So I got to trot some of those up for that, and then did the Spiragos Saga adventures, which was a lot of fun too, and allowed me to sort of pave the road for what's going to be in the player's guide, which was very cool because it's got everything. There's actually, I think, between the 3 books, there's like 7 playable ancestries now that are in those because we put ancestries right in the adventure. There are ready-made characters that we built for the first adventure that then have advancement guidelines in them, so you don't even have to think. You can just give somebody the Savage Worlds core rules and the Gauntlet Spiragos book, and they don't have to really think about like, how do I build this character? It's all laid out for them, so they can really just focus on telling the story and learning the system.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, let's look at your Kickstarter pages, and I'm going to start with Savage Hunter. I love the way this page looks, and walk us through the page. Tell us, from your perspective, as the writer, as the the publisher, what is cool about this? What is going to make people want to jump off of this stream and immediately go back this if they haven't already done so?
Sure thing. Is the page going to pop up on the?
It is.
Okay.
Let's see if I can make this work technomagically. All right.
Fancy.
I know, right?
Sure. So Savage Hunter is it's a love letter to a lot of like monster crafting games. It's more than just the big one everyone's thinking about. It is really, with each of the products that I do, I try to push a different aspect of Savage Worlds' core rules. I don't think it really needs a lot of reinventing the wheel.
Mm-hmm.
I just like to sort of challenge different parts of it. And so the big experiment with Savage Hunter was experimenting with scale and called shots, because
Okay.
I know that the one of the lead designers is in the chat, but I don't like scale modifiers. I think it's not communicated very well.
Dun dun dun.
That said, while doing Savage Hunter, I did a lot of research into like why it's designed the way it is. And I have a deeper understanding as to why I believe it was designed the way it is, where, you know, it's harder for large monsters who are going to do more damage to hit smaller monsters, and vice versa. But I don't like it. I think it's a little and so my experiment was to sort of have these different called shot sections and these scale modifiers kind of rolled into one modifier that gets included in the stat block. And that's really the big mechanical design for the monsters. You know, earlier this year we did the Simply Savage Bestiary, which did unbelievably well, which was a totally different experiment. So these stat blocks will look different than those, but that's because they're trying to experiment with different things. I really, really, really like somewhat kind of primitive, bronzy, copper agey aesthetics. And I wanted to, yeah, I know your shirt.
Yeah.
Listen,
Yeah.
when you said you had it on earlier, I was like, yeah, don't you worry. I got something for you, my man.
That's right, man.
But yeah, that was really it. I wanted to create these really interesting boss fights where called shots are emphasizing the death spiral, because as you sort of break the parts of the monsters, each of their called shot sections are assigned an amount of wounds, and once they exceed those wounds, they'll break, which will grant you. Ooh, we have to say exactly.
Yeah.
I understand why it comes the way it does, because you have to balance, you know, a laser Gatling gun next to a crossbow.
Yeah.
So I completely get it. But I did want to switch it up for this one. But so it's that one flat number, and when you break the part, it actually makes the monster weaker in a way that isn't just the wound penalty death spiral. Like,
Nice.
their mechanical abilities will get weaker. They might deal less damage with certain attacks. They might be slower. They might take penalties on specific rolls related to the limb and their stat block, which I really, really like. Because let's say this, one of the default monsters we have in the test drive, the Hoyaro, if you break its blade talons, its parry goes down, and its parry starts very high. So it starts to give you a way to sort of come after the monster in a way that rewards sort of having a plan.
Yeah.
My goal with Savage Hunter, I think this is the thing I really want people to take away. My goal is to give players the ability to feel really smart. If a player comes up with a plan to overcome the strengths of a monster while resisting, while punishing the monster's weaknesses, I want that to make the player feel really smart.
Oh yeah, and it fits with the tactical combat of Savage Worlds very well.
Exactly right. It emphasizes gear. It emphasizes trappings. It emphasizes tests and support roles. My goal was to sort of approach this from like a very holistic, all-encompassing approach to like, I want people to use as many of the types of actions as possible, because more often than not, when I play Savage Worlds with either new players or, you know, even just at like con tables, most people just take the attack action. And I think tests are so slick.
Yeah.
So that was really the big thing for the monster design. And then for the gear crafting, I wanted to have something where anyone at the table, any character, could participate in the crafting. So the crafting rules I did not include in the test drive because I can't give away everything for free. The harvesting rules are in there, but I wanted to hold on to these really nice crafting rules because they are simple and approachable, but still have great depth. You use your attributes rather than a specific skill or a selection of skills. And the attribute relates to the process being performed. So if something is going to expose you to extensive heat for a long period of time during a forging process, you will roll vigor for that stage. If it's something that requires a great deal of force, you'll roll strength. If it's something that requires a great deal of finesse, agility, medical knowledge, smarts, things like that. It's so that way everyone at the table can participate in the condensed kind of multi-step process of crafting what can essentially be in any other setting a magic weapon or a magic armor or a magic gear, because you can take these rules and you can plop them right in Savage Pathfinder. You can, I haven't seen the full Scarred Lands, but you might be able to make magic weapons in there. And you can just use them as generic magic item, sci-fi item rules that are approachable. That's my goal.
Well, I put the link to the test drive here in the chat. So if you guys want to go see what it is, please go check it out.
It's a free test drive. It comes with a bunch of pre-made characters, a large selection of the rules, 2 large monsters to hunt, as well as several small ones for a complete biome, because we do a lot of biome simulation in this book where it sort of makes the environment feel like a living, breathing ecosystem without getting too simulationist about it. And it comes with a free adventure. So awesome. you can run it as long as you have the Savage Worlds base rules, you can run it straight out of the box.
Now, there's 15 of these boss monsters, 19 standard monsters, you're a dozen biomes, 25 new edges.
Terrain effects. I like to have hazards and different things to spice up a battlefield. I think it's 5 or 6 biomes.
Okay, 5 or 6 biomes, but like things to put in the battle to engage the players in other ways, which seems to be like a kind of key thing. Now, you have a full plot point campaign in here?
Yes. When I do settings like this, I like to write a plot point campaign. This one is a very investigation-focused campaign for a game about hunting giant monsters. Because if it was just one combat encounter after another, it wouldn't be very fun. That's not exactly engaging gameplay. So there is a lot of research, there's a lot of study, there's a lot of social interaction, interaction with other hunters, with illegal poacher organizations, things like that.
Oh, very cool. And you guys, this is funded. It's got 5 days left to go. You can also pick up some of the other supplements that you've said. Now, it has a delivery date for the PDF of March.
Yes. So the game is pretty much already completely written.
Yeah, so we're talking like 4 months away, and it should be in hand.
4 months away. So if you back, you will have the ability to give early feedback notes, because no matter how much we edit, something always gets by, and players will always find a way to do things that we might not have anticipated, and we can either choose to tweak it, explain it better, or find a way to smooth out that kind of ruffle.
That is always, and then you go, well, this is the final one, and then someone else looks at the final one and goes, well, I found this, and you're like, final point 2.
It will always happen. 100% it will always happen. But I am a staunch believer in perfect is the enemy of done.
Amen. Well, Kyle, I am so glad that this thing has funded. I'm really excited. I will be jumping on to back this after we wrap this one up. This is right up my alley. And again, kind of the thing you can dump in any fantasy setting and increase the engagement. A fantasy setting such as Savage Scarred Lands. Look at that. Like, it's almost like I do this professionally.
Beautiful segue. And before I forget to say so, Cal, we should definitely exchange info and talk a little bit.
Oh, absolutely.
Because there's a lot of ideas where we're thinking along the same lines that I think
we have the same vibe. Yeah, I'm off social media right now. Like, I'm very much not approachable. But that doesn't mean I don't like to talk to people. So absolutely, we'll hook up after the stream and exchange contacts.
Well, and like I really feel like from my familiarity with the Scarred Lands, this is the kind of thing that would be very cool to have, because you do have. I mean, look at the giant monster sitting behind.
Right. Yeah, the fire rat dragon that's flying overhead above me. Well, and it's funny too. You mentioned like biomes. One of the things that we're going to be including in the player's guide, as I mentioned, there was a war between the gods and the Titans, and it created damage to the world. One of the things that I'm going to be featuring is a different adventure environment that is either the husk of a Titan that is still lying around. For example, Kadum, the mountain shaker, is lying at the floor of the Blood Sea with his heart ripped out, chained up, and the blood that's pouring out of his chest is why the sea is red. There will be rules for adventuring in Kadum's body. So
That sounds awesome.
Churn, the Titan of Disease, was balled up in like a vacuum sealed sphere of rock underneath the morning marshes in Gelspad. And so there's going to be rules for like, what if you wind up standing over, in the area that's directly over his tomb? How does that affect combat? Things like that. So, like I said, very, very similar.
That's so cool. Same wavelength. Great minds.
Well, let's talk about some Scarred Lands, because again, this is a setting that is very close to my heart, both thematically and just from the years I played in here. I'll be honest, once the Scarred Lands came out, I think basically all of my 3 third edition era games were either in the Scarred Lands or in like my own home personal campaign that I pulled a bunch of the Scarred Lands into. Because
from it,
I mean, I have an entire bookshelf over there that is just ancient Near East culture, Greek poetry and epics, where ghosts came from in the ancient world. Like I have a deep and abiding love for that era, and the Scarred Lands were like, hey, what if that was a fantasy setting?
Right, very much.
And for those of you who are unaware, the Titanomachy is essentially the war against the Titans. It's awesome. Read your Greek myths. So tell us about. So you're not only you're funded, but you've unlocked like 6 stretch goals. You actually unlocked one. The graphic isn't even updated yet.
This morning, I believe the graphic should be updated. I hope the graphics updated. I think I did it this morning, like literally updated it this morning.
Oh,
yeah,
There you go.
The first of our 3 Blood Sea possible stretch goals. So, yes, we've unlocked a Blood Sea supplement, which is super cool because that's a setting that's very easy to be like, this is neat and heavy metal, and people are like, yeah, a sea made out of Titan's blood is pretty cool. So it's pretty easy sell. The other one of the other stretch goals we unlocked was a adventures book where we're basically going to be taking a bunch of the 3rd edition setting material that had adventures in the back of it and translating all of those into one sort of main adventure guide. And then along that, we'll have guidelines for how to incorporate those into either a connected campaign or to spring off into their own campaigns. So there's going to be a lot of supplementary material in that regard. And wherever those are expansions will occur, I'll also be giving various sort of terrain information, weather information, because again, the world is so affected by this war. Whether there's a dead Titan nearby, or whether there's a husk of a Titan, they're not dead nearby, or perhaps, like for example, the Hornsaw Forest in central Gelspad was soaked in the blood of Mormo when she was disemboweled. And so that mutated the wildlife there. That's why the unicorns in Scarred Lands have serrated horns and look like Clydesdales, because they were mutated by Mormo's blood. So everywhere there's an adventure, there will be information specific to that adventure's region, so you can sort of convey all that.
Now, you don't have a test drive, if you will, but you put out the Spheros trilogy.
Yeah, the Spheros trilogy's out. There's also you can grab any one of the creature profiles, and they all have story hooks in them. So you can literally grab one and be like, oh, this is going to be the adventure we're going to run today. And then we just put out this week a ancestry preview that's free that has some of the ancestries that were originally published in the Spirigos trilogy, just so that people can get kind of a glimpse of what those are like, because the ancestries in Scarred Lands are all very unique and very tied to the setting,
and very much you could tell that White Wolf had their hand in designing this setting, and this it brought the horror back to the dungeon, if you will.
Absolutely.
Like there were some truly terrifying things in rites and rituals, or the sets of magic items that got more powerful, but also you got more twisted and cursed the more of the, because you were essentially gathering, these titanic weapons that were infused with the Titan's essence, which is not always a good thing.
No, yeah, it's downright bad. You don't want to do that. It's very, very, very bad, dangerous stuff. Yeah, and a little bit of that crops up actually in the Spiragos trilogy too, which is cool because there's a good possibility that through most of that adventure series, you're carrying around a titanic weapon, which does all sorts of terrible things to you and your friends while you're carrying it.
Yeah, good times.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, the other thing that's very cool about the way that we're approaching the player's guide, because I was able to get a license that gives me basically access to the entire publication history. The Scarlands Player's Guide for Savage Worlds will be the first time in 25 years that every continent of Skarn, the world of Scarlands, will be under the same cover.
Yeah.
It's never happened before. So that's really exciting for me because the different continents also give different vibes. Like Gelspad is definitely like heavily Greek Roman inspired, absolutely. But Termana is like you have jungles, and then you have on one side it's all jungle, on the other side it's like this almost like a metaphor for like climate change, in the sense that there's been an ecological disaster.
Yeah, the giant desert.
Right, and it's just really broken. And then of course the north end of Termana you have Blood Bayou, which is where when the Titan Churn died off the coast of Termana, it caused a tidal wave, and when that tidal wave backed out, it left behind this swamp that was just Titan scarred and twisted and all messed up. And so that's a fun little thing. And then you have Asherak to the north, which in very, very shorthand is basically Dark Sun. It's effectively the same sort of vibe as Dark Sun. With a little bit more of like, I guess, a Middle Eastern, Southeast Asian sort of vibe to it. And then you have the Dragonlands, because when this Titanomachy happened, all the true dragons kind of were like, you all have fun fighting. We're going to just wall off our little area and not get involved in your stuff. So there's that little region that's sort of been isolated throughout the whole thing. And the last continent is Fenrilik, which is the northern icy continent, that was touched so little by the Divine War that they don't believe it happened for the most part. Like if you come up there and you're like, I worship the gods, they're like, the who now?
What?
Right. What do you mean the Titans are gone? What do you? I hunted this morning. Reinruck must be fine. Yeah.
Well, and your Kickstarter ends in about 18 hours.
It
so
does.
Noon tomorrow.
Yeah.
If I'm mapping correctly.
Noon Mountain, 2 Eastern is the end tomorrow. Yeah.
Well,
So,
guys, congratulations. Before we wrap up, I know, Kyle, you mentioned that part of your design came out of looking at the scale modifiers and wanting something a bit more specific for what you were attempting to. When you guys approach the design for your settings, let's start with kind of what is your favorite thing about designing for Savage Worlds? If you had to go, hey, this is the rule, or this is the subsystem, or this is the thing that I love most about designing for Savage Worlds, what would that be?
You want to go first, Kyle?
Do you have a quick answer?
I do have a quick answer.
Okay.
You go. I'm trolling the blind palace.
We'll stretch it out as long as we can, Kyle.
Sure. My quick answer is setting rules.
Yeah.
Just in general, the concept of setting rules, because it allows you to tweak things so much. And one of the things that I've been like hammering home with like old school Scarlands fans is that the Savage World setting rules allow us to get in there and really sort of tweak things with a specificity that no iteration of Dungeons and Dragons really can, right? So just a specific, to give a specific example, one of the setting rules is Mazos's Bane. The Titan Mazos, who was the sire of sorcery, the person who created magic, they were ripped to shreds by the gods. They were the first Titan that fell, and they basically just went into a frenzy and ripped them apart. And so the energy, the magical energy of this Titanic being has spread and sort of permeated all of Skarn. So if you are casting magic through a certain fashion, so using sorcery, ritual, the types of things that are perceived as directly interacting with that magic that Mesos created, you are affected by the bane. So it could be light, like you might, when you cast, like you might start glowing because you're casting magic, or it could be heat that wafts off of you. It could be crackles of lightning that dance around you. But you are affected by that. And if you have a critical failure, not only does this happen, but it gives you and everybody in your vicinity fatigue because you've channeled too much of the energy.
Yeah.
And so the in-setting reason for that is because every time you cast a spell, Mesos tries to pull himself back together, and that's what the bane is. But you're able, in 3rd edition and 5th edition, it was just wizards have that.
Yeah.
Right. I can dial it in now with the setting rule. I'm basing it off of what's your arcane skill. Right.
Yeah,
So
nice.
then I can say, like, we have another, for example, we have another arcane background that we're introducing called the High Astrologer, because the zodiac of Skarn is very different and very well baked into the history and has different mechanical effects and such. And so, like, astrology does not kick off Mesos's bane, because it's kind of like dealing with the magic with a glove on. It's the same reason bards don't kick it off with performance, because you're not dealing directly with the magic. You're using another medium to attach to that magic. So,
well,
and yeah.
Shane, I was about to say this, Shane, is like, that was my big problem with GURPS, is I love GURPS, but even with D&D, aside from, I would say, probably Ravenloft and Dark Sun the most, getting the feel of the setting was really more about the GM than any sort of mechanical reinforcement. And yeah, I love running GURPS, but I think you and I talked about this, Travis, when we were chatting a couple of weeks ago. It was like, GURPS was great and had a ton of different settings, but mechanically, GURPS was GURPS.
Right.
Was GURPS, and it was really up to the GM to kind of flavor things. And Shane said that's why setting rules came about.
And they're a beautiful extension. Like you mentioned D&D, you know, the ones that come to mind to me are obviously the Psionics and Dark Sun, the alignment and the connection between alignment and magic in Dragonlance, and Planescape. But again, though, like, all of those things are comparatively minor and very one note and completely baked directly into the setting. It's not, and the thing that makes the setting rules, I think, so unique for Savage Worlds is that there are so many that you can mix and match, and they have no one does not generally discount others. It's just it's a very cool setup. So hats off to the folks responsible for that idea, because that's it for me. That would be the one I would say. Did I fill enough time, Kyle?
Yeah, Kyle, I can put up an after these messages. We'll be right back.
Get mine out like immediately after.
Excellent.
But yeah, no, I think that's an excellent answer, genuinely, because that does sort of tie into what I guess I would say the answer for me, which would be modularity. I think that Savage Worlds is intentionally designed as a very modular system. It's a universal system, and as someone who doesn't like GURPS, it's probably one of my favorite universal systems. This and Genesis go back and forth, but non-proprietary dice are so much more lovely. But the ability to design things very easily and very approachably, with very simplified modifiers, with very simplified rules that are universal constants until a setting rule might modify them. I think that modularity really is what gets people to the table with Savage Worlds, because unlike Dungeons and Dragons, where if I have to hear one more person tell me about how they're running like 5th edition Pokemon or 5th edition Star Trek, I'm gonna pull my hair out. But if you say, "Oh yeah, I'm trying to play like a Pokemon in Savage Worlds or like a Star Trek in Savage Worlds or
You want to
Netrunner,"
know how they're doing it.
I'm
Yeah.
like, "How you doing it though?" Because
Yeah.
the modularity is a feature. It is not a system that has to be fought against. It is a system that encourages you to play in the space. It encourages you to play with the toys and take them out of the toy box and see how they work. And I think that is the greatest success of Savage Worlds, is that it makes it very, very approachable. I have to roll a 4 or better. Okay, easy. And then it all scales from there.
Yeah, and I think going back to Deadlands and seeing how each iteration of the game, the core game, changed.
Yeah.
One of the things that I love about, at least to me from the outside, and Shane can correct me on this if I'm wrong, what's interesting to me about the design, seeing the differences between the editions, it was almost like they were like, it'll be done when I can't take anything else away, not when I have to add something to it. And that's a great design philosophy because it keeps the core rules so well explained, so simple, so modular that it makes it very easy to, like you said, take the Legos out of the box and build whatever I want.
It is a kill your darlings system, where even only having, because I was familiar with Deadlands like in high school when it was like still roll 5 d20s and stuff like that. But now coming from like Deluxe Explorers to Adventure,
Yeah.
you can see the things that they didn't, from my perspective, that they might have felt like weren't working, and then cut them right off for Adventure. And that really works for me.
Yeah. Well, and even some of the things
Ouch, no, I like playing original Deadlands.
No, I think it might have been. I think it might have been. Yeah, I think it might have been Ron Blessing's thing about you could spend your whole round aiming at someone's head, pull the trigger, and hit them in the hit points.
Oh yeah.
That could be.
But even things like the chase rules, how they've been iterative, it is a very complex system that is very simply explained.
Yeah.
And that makes designing for it and incorporating it into a game that much easier. Well, good. No, go ahead, Todd.
It facilitates role playing in a modular way with edges and hindrances. I think buying something to get a mechanical advantage that gives you guidance for role playing is a thing more systems should do. Having codified role playing guidance, if not rules, is vital.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, any final thoughts? Anything you'd want to share? Any final pitches to people in the last 18 hours to 5 days to say?
The only thing that I would like to add is last time I looked, we were about $2,400-ish away from expanding the Blood Sea supplement to include the Mithril area, which is a city of paladins on the coast of the Blood Sea. It's got a giant golem made out of mithril that was bestowed on it by the god Corion. Very, very cool setting. That would be included if we can get up to 10 grand for our total raise. And if we get up to 10,500, anybody who's backed for a POD will get the POD coupon added to their pledge. So I'm fingers crossed we can get there. I believe we can get there. We just need to get the word out. But I am also just incredibly grateful to you, to Pinnacle, to everyone who has shared the link, everyone who has backed. Thank you. We could not do this without y'all. So I deeply, deeply appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. As far as Savage Hunter goes, it's a very good book. I'm extremely proud of it. I think the biome design with like the food web simulations is definitely something I want to explore even further. I really like ecology. No stretch goals on this campaign. That's just a personal preference. But if you want to get in for giving early feedback to see if there's anything that we missed or that might not be fully understood before print vouchers go out, please consider backing us. If you want to follow BPB Games' Substack, that's where I do a lot of my game dev posting for Savage Worlds and other systems. And it's a great place to get the occasional coupon for some of our products. So check it out. I've been vastly enjoying the conversations happening over there with other well-informed followers who give very insightful responses to things. Those would be the two big things that I would say. Check out Savage Hunter. It's a very good book.
I will.
It sounds amazing. It really does.
I am. Well, and I'm glad that you guys it's very cool that both of you guys have funded already. We're in the last hours for Scarred Lands, which again, I cannot wait. And Savage Hunter's got 5 days left. Let me put the link up for that, and I will share that and put that there. And we'll be back next week. Tracy is coming on to show off all of the great physical products for the Han Cluster and talk about the Han Cluster coming out, which if you've followed Savage Universe, we've had Tracy on many times because we love the Han Cluster over here. So until next time, go out and play some Savage Worlds and back some great Savage Worlds Kickstarters. And we will see you next week. And until then, may all your dice ace. Have a good one, everybody.
Bye-bye.